A to the K.
to the K.
To the K.
Bray Wyatt passes away aged 39.
Terry Funk passes away age 79.
CM Punk and Jack Perry suspended after a backstage altercation at All In.
Is Edge headed to AEW?
Tony Khan reveals new AEW pay-per-views.
Mercedes Mone was in attendance at All In.
Will Ospreay and Jordynne Grace making a return to Impact Wrestling.
The Dudley Boyz are set to team together for the first time in 7 years.
New NWA champion crowned as Tyrus is forced to retire.
And John Cena returns to WWE for nearly 2 months.
2 months,
Damn.
Anthony. When's all this coming up?
Right freaking now.
Yes, it is. And unfortunately, we wish this wasn't coming up, but obviously...
You know what? Like, I mean, I think this is the first episode where we've had to do 2 in memories. It's such a real bad week for wrestling fans.
Shit.
Well, yeah. Sorry, I'll let you do your bit.
No.
Really, really somber start in it, unfortunately.
Yeah, anyone who listens to this or watches this regularly knows that this isn't necessarily our vibe, but you can't be all like woo.
Yeah.
Because obviously it's good news. We were lucky enough to meet Wyndham. When was it, last year?
Last year for the Love of Wrestling. Yeah.
Just when he was on his hiatus from WWE, and just what everyone says about him is clearly true. He's just such a lovely, lovely dude. He had so much time for everybody. He wasn't phoning anything in.
Honestly, even after the main convention, he stayed after, didn't he? And did a bit of a talk with everyone.
Like a panel of people who paid for the privileges.
And you look at because you're in for the Love of Wrestling group, you look at all the other people who got to meet him and got autographs and stuff, and got to interact with him in some way, and like everyone just sort of adored him, didn't they? Really?
Yeah, no, they did. And yeah, it's just like 36 as well. It's like our age, you know what I mean? Which is crazy.
Yeah.
It's also crazy what a monster of a man he was, because it's like he's our age. Hi, Bray.
I did joke about that previously. It's like barely said he could lift me like a child.
Yes, he could. And lovely police cars flying past in the hood where the studio is.
But no, as you say, just there's not much we can say other than it's incredibly sad news. Gutting in a way, really.
It is. I was so. I mean, anyone who knows about the show, I love the whole White Rabbit stuff and the mystery behind it all. And I was the first one to say I wish that he was able to do more. Like, I don't feel like he was able to get across what he wanted with his return, and obviously
this is the shit bit. We've talked about all this stuff before, and I've been sort of critical of the Mountain Dew pitchback match and all that, but it was all said in a thing of they can come back and they can do something and so on like that. You just never expect something like this, and it's like so saddening. Like that was his last run, and no one sort of knew.
It's a scary thought as well. But you think it was Undertaker literally passed the torch to him, as in you can carry this for the next however long, and then obviously.
I mean, obviously at the time of this recording, we've seen them all pay tribute to Bray on SmackDown.
Yeah, and
you could see how much it got, because again, even from what you hear of the other wrestlers and that, no one had a bad word to say about the man.
No.
He's always such a lovely guy backstage and such like that, and you can see just how much it got some people. And the main one that sort of struck me was LA Knight. Obviously, it was his last in-ring match was LA Knight, and you could see it in his eyes that it was a tough promo to do, and I don't know. It's just, it's so crazy.
Yeah, I don't think it's really sunk in properly yet. It's made me just obviously you just think, don't you? Do you know what I mean? You're not here for a long time. You never know how long you're here for. Just to really just make the most of the time you've got. You know what I mean? Because you never know, do you? Just proper sobering and terrifying thoughts at the same time. But I'm not a big fan of there's a bit of a media spin. Not so much a media spin, but details have come out now that he went to the doctors and stuff, and he was given a chest defibrillator, and it was left in his car. And he didn't wear it, and people, the toxic people out there if you were to listen to the advice and all that.
I fucking can you not just let people be sad about something? It's a tragic death, no matter what way you look at it.
Obviously, he leaves behind.
Isn't it funny? People, I don't want to talk about this too much because I don't even want to entertain it really, but. Like, people talk about shit like that, but at 36, he shouldn't have had to even be worried about chest defibrillator, so it's still a horrible fucking circumstance, isn't it? Like, people just need to cut that shit and just go,
So
you know what,
any
this was incredibly...
anti-vaxxers out there, it just goes to show that COVID's still a thing. It's still very much real, and people are still, losing their lives as a result of it and complications. So, yeah, look at we could talk forever about how devastated we are and stuff. But I just think it's important that we just remember what an absolute trailblazer he's been from like all of his character work that he's done. You know what I mean? Like,
plus, I've always said, and I know it's always been a slight level of debate between the Boneyard match, but like the match he did with John Cena, or the cinematic he did with John Cena, one of the most iconic things during the pandemic era, during the no audience era, and like you say, that was largely down to the creativity of Bray, and he was always such a creative dude.
And it was just, it ran through his veins, and he put it into everything that he did. And it's a shame that we're not going to get to see more of it. Terrible news.
Indeed.
And unfortunately,
well. So I mean, obviously, in a week of what seems to be just horrible bad news for wrestling, the legend there is Terry Funk, sadly passed away at age 79. So again, there's not a great deal to say about it other than sort of paying sort of memory to Terry Funk, and again, he was another really well thought of legend in the business, and it's a real shame to see, but it's really, again, in some ways it's really nice to see like how many people sort of spoke about him and paid tribute to him and such like that. And in the same way they did with Bray, it went across like multiple companies, because I think people always forget that there's always this perceived sort of war between companies, but the bottom line is, if you work in the industry, you're going to interact with these people, and you could see that in like CM Punk paying tribute to Terry and stuff like that. So it's more just a...
It's crazy to think how long he's actually been around, and like what he's contributed to the business. Like, I know a lot of people our age and stuff won't really remember or recall the stuff he was doing earlier in his career. We'd remember him as like Chainsaw Charlie and like ECW Punk and all that. But
weird thing, like, because it's probably not the biggest thing he ever did, clearly, but like, I always remember him in Roadhouse, because I fucking love Roadhouse. It's a great film, and I'm like, that's crazy that that's Terry Funk.
It is mad. Like, similarly, I remember him from Beyond the Mat. Obviously, featured very
of course,
in that. He's just an absolutely lovely guy. People always talk about Mick Foley being one of the nicest guys, and it's like him and Foley are really good friends. And I think similarly, like, I don't think many people at all have got a bad word to say about Terry Funk. So there's people always joke he's retired about 100 times and all that, but it just goes to show his love for the business. And how can you walk away from the legacy that he created? Just terrible news. I mean, how old was he? Was he like 79 or something?
79, yeah.
So it's like, you know what I mean? It's he's lived obviously a much longer life.
I mean, it's the thing, you don't want to be like, oh yeah, he had a good run, but like, in terms of like the wrestling business, he managed to contribute so much and have so long with the business that, in a way you can kind of go, you can look at it in like an appreciative way,
Yeah, absolutely.
But I mean, still incredibly saddening.
Tragic, absolutely tragic. And again, just hope all his friends and family and stuff are doing okay. Like, obviously, just an absolute icon to lose from the business. So shit week.
Indeed,
very shit
indeed.
Week.
Let's move on to some silly shenanigans, shall we?
Exactly.
There's no real way to segue to that, but let's move on to some silly backstage fucking bullshit.
Puts it all into perspective, doesn't it? You've literally got fucking people dying, and then you've got this fucking silly bullshit that's going on in AEW and taken away from what was a fantastic day for All In. But ultimately, I'm sure everybody already knows about all this and everything that's gone on. But so there was stuff where CM Punk advised Jack Perry not to use real glass in a spot like previously. And obviously, anyone who saw 0 Hour for All In, they saw Jack Perry and Hook. They were fighting on top of a limousine, and basically Jack Perry made like a little jab at Punk. It was like, and it's real glass and all that as well. So there's loads of different accounts. We went there, we don't know, so we don't really know what the truth is.
I mean, like, I know we don't know the truth of it, and a lot of people naturally just don't like Punk. But what we did see on camera was Perry being a tit.
Well, yeah.
In all fairness, didn't have to go real glass, like clearly being antagonistic.
Yeah. So there's you can say a lot about Punk, and he is, he can be a nightmare, but at the same time, there's instances where other people do start this shit. Like Hangman went after Punk originally, which kind of started the whole stuff with, Brawl Out and stuff. And then, you know what I mean? Now we can Brawl In by all accounts because...
Thing is, Punk is a stubborn fucker. If he thinks he's right, then he's going to keep going like this, isn't he? And, like, and obviously I don't know the ins and outs of it, just like any of the fandom. But from what I can see is, like, if you can subtly push his buttons and make it look like he's the one who overreacted, then he comes out looking worse, doesn't he? But for me, in this scenario, it looks like Jack Perry could have been professional and acted professional and chose not to there.
Yeah, I just think it's just a massive shame when he came back after that like extended period away. You could see how delighted he was to be back in the wrestling business, and to see that love for the business just completely fade away. Like there was accounts basically of like him saying he's done. He's done with the AEW now. Like I'm sick of the bullshit. I'm sick of this place. It's the worst place to work and all that kind of stuff. Just that side of things. But yeah, apparently him and Jack Perry had some sort of kind of confrontation. There was reports of pushing and shoving, choking, even a punch or two being thrown. So what we do know is Jack Perry was asked to leave the arena immediately. Well, what we do know, what's being reported seemingly by multiple outlets, is he was asked to leave straight away. Obviously, Punk had his match with Samoa Joe right after it. So he went out and did his match, and when he got back, he asked if he could leave to make it easy for everyone else, basically, to not be backstage and cause any further drama that doesn't need to happen and stuff. But whatever went down. Tony said in the media scrum he's looking into it, they're investigating it. But what's also been reported is that the pair of them have been suspended, which of course means that Punk is going to miss All Out in Chicago. So a lot of those fans are going to be pretty pissed.
I mean, has it been confirmed they've been suspended? Because that is a big fucking thing to do.
It was rumoured yesterday, and I think Sports Illustrated have confirmed it this morning.
That is a big move to make that,
It is. So the fans are going to be fuming, and it's a shame. It takes such a shine off what was, a record-breaking night for them.
Yeah, and the fact that like a lot of the media is caught up with this bullshit, including ourselves, is not great, is it? Because All In was a banger.
Yeah, that's what I mean. Like we should be celebrating like the fact that it was, the
record-breaking,
all
as you
that kind
say.
of stuff. But all anyone's talking about is this, and it's massive shame. So I don't want to go
grow up, you two.
Like people are saying, like, is CM Punk worth the hassle? Is he? And it's just like,
I'd love to go straight to, is CM Punk worth the hassle? It's like,
exactly.
Jack Perry's not even established yet. Is he worth the fucking hassle
exactly.
then?
So,
like, they're all being fucking stupid.
Yeah.
They all could have been professional here.
Bizarre.
Like, I'm not trying to be a Punk defender, like, just because it's Punk. Like, I'm sure he has his part to play, but at the end of the day, no one's blameless there. They all could have been professional. Like, I actually feel sorry for Tony Khan having to deal with this kind of shit.
Well, exactly. And obviously Mega as well. She's heavily involved. Like, there's loads of stuff. Like, Christopher Daniels meant to be the head of talent relations, but obviously him and Punk aren't on good terms at the minute. So
yeah, even that kind of stuff.
Like, apparently he wasn't picked up from the airport either, so he had to find his own way.
Daniels
on the tube. No, Punk.
Oh, Punk.
So it's like people are going, oh, have they done, like, why has that happened? Is that because of Daniel? Like, let's go. So there's just people are speculating everywhere.
I don't know. Daniels doesn't strike me as a petty guy. Again, don't know a great deal of him, but doesn't strike me as someone petty enough to be like that.
No, but yeah, so it's one of them. It's such a shame. Hopefully they get it all resolved, and hopefully we can just get back to them doing great stuff as a company and kind of eliminating this kind of stuff all the time.
Yeah. So, Carl, bit of a rumour mill thing here, but let's have a look at it. So, is Edge headed to All Elite Wrestling? Now, we all know that his contract is up in, I want to say, early September. Yeah. But there's sort of a going belief that he's not going to renew his contract with WWE, that he's going potentially on a little bit of a retirement tour, if you will, and possible AEW could be the avenue, given the Christian connection and the, possible let's finish up with Edge and Christian and the Hardys, which would be fucking awesome, to be fair.
It would, definitely would be.
And I was joking with you the other day, sending you messages saying it's going to be all out of crack the code, etc. But I mean, I don't know if all out would be soon enough. There's to me. Oh shit! Sorry, I've just lost my notes because I'm a pain in the ass.
I mean,
yeah, I don't know if they've confirmed exactly when his contract ends. I know he said it was September sometime.
Yeah, I mean, I personally can't see this happening, if I'm honest. I think I think he's kind of WWE lifer. Like he's been there from the very beginning. He spent his whole career there. I know you could be like say that about a lot of guys, but even like Jericho was a WCW guy first and stuff, and not afraid to move around. But I don't know. I can't.
I get what you're saying. He does seem very much like a WWE lifer, but you not think like who was it who said the other week about RVD was said about like basically you assume that he did it without the permission of WWE.
Yeah.
And it almost seemed like they were cool with it. And it's like Triple H strikes you as the type of guy who probably would understand the friendship level and why he'd, I don't know, because there's also the side of people going, well, would they not want to poach Christian back at some point? You know, which again could be a possibility, couldn't it? You know, you never know. You never know.
No, you don't. I think I just like by all accounts, according to Edge himself, and whether he's doing it to, you know, kind of cover what's really going on or whatever, but he says he's got an offer in his inbox from WWE. He's just deciding what he wants to do.
Yeah.
At this point, like, how can you have a better retirement match than in Toronto, in your hometown, against the guy who showed you could get back into wrestling?
This is the thing, isn't it?
Like, what you do. But
I suppose it is tough, isn't it? Because he done that video on Instagram the other week, didn't he, where he was sort of saying about his future and that, and like, it's difficult. Like, what more does he want out of the business? Like, I don't even suppose it's because it's not like when they say about offers, it'll be like monetary, wouldn't it? But it's like, I suppose there are an amount of zeros they could put in there, you know. Right. But you know, what is it that you want to accomplish and what do you want to do? Because this is a man who is very aware of the fragility of wrestling, given like his career-ending injury in the first place, or what was at the time believed to be a career-ending injury. So, you know, like I could see him kind of going, you know what, I've done what I need to do, kind of thing. But I do think there's some unfinished business there with Christian. So.
Yeah, it's a fascinating one. I think it'd be a hell of a coup for AEW if they get him. But I think, what do you do with him? Because you know Christian's, I know he's kind of the TNT champion at the minute, but he has been sort of floundering for a bit.
I mean, I'd go straight into a feud. Christian's being a dick. Edge comes to straighten him out. Never used to be a dick like that, right? Going after people's dads all the time, right? And so they could have a straightener, and he could sort of, you know, end that feud with them sort of working it out or whatever, and then go from there. You know what I mean? They could then tag team for a bit.
Yeah,
Hardys could
straightens them out. Like have another little
have a straightener.
Hardys, and then you know, as we'll talk about in one of the news items in a bit, maybe we throw a third team into the mix, do some standing math.
Your chances of success go up.
Yes, they do. But yeah, be a hell of a coup. But yeah, I don't think anyone really knows at this point what he's going to do. Speaking of things people don't know, now we do, because at the post All In media scrum, Tony Khan revealed a couple of things. Anthony, not only is All In returning to Wembley Stadium on the same bank holiday weekend next year in 2024, but a brand new pay-per-view is coming to town called WrestleDream. Now, I think we may have spoke about this a few months ago, that they filed a trademark for it. We didn't know what it was all about.
Yes.
It turns out it's for a new pay-per-view. It's on the anniversary of Antonio Inoki's passing. Obviously, Tony was a huge fan of his, and so
he's clearly a big New Japan guy.
Well, exactly. But basically, this is now potentially going to be another annual thing, and it's also likely to feature more New Japan talent. So it's also like another Forbidden Door type thing, obviously because they're honouring Inoki. So
that's nice.
Interesting.
The sentiment behind it is nice.
Yeah, it's interesting that they're going for 2 co-branded pay-per-views a year, though, which is
I don't know. The relationship seems to be getting stronger and stronger. And you know what? Like New Japan, like unless you like, you have to go out of your way to be a New Japan guy in the States or in the UK.
Yeah, go to Japan.
Like, no, do you know what I mean? Like, you have to like. It's not like AEW's on ITV and WWE's on BT. It's quite easy to happen across on your TV, and they got much more media coverage and much more notoriety. But to be a New Japan wrestling fan in the UK, and similarly in the States, you have to sort of go out of your way, don't you, to subscribe to it, to find it, etc. And I think, to be fair to Tony, as much as I'm like, I don't know, I wasn't big on Forbidden Door because I don't know half of these people and stuff like that, he's bringing them to the forefront, isn't he?
He is.
It's making it more...
great numbers as well.
Yeah,
so it's an interesting one. It is an interesting approach, though. I get it. Like, I do get it, but I wonder whether it's going to take away a bit of the appeal of Forbidden Door, because it's like you get it twice a year now. But I do think they needed some kind of stopgap, because from All Out to Full Gear, there's always been like quite a big gap.
Yeah. And from All Out to All In, there's fuck all gap.
Well, yeah, you're not wrong there. So, yeah, and he has been talking about adding more pay-per-views to the calendar. So I think it's a good place to put it. But obviously, we'll have to see how different it becomes.
That's the thing, because he'll have to distinguish it away from Forbidden Door at the same time, because it's going to be compared to it massively, isn't it, really?
Yeah.
But I don't know. I like the sentiment behind it. We'll see what they do. It's going to be good.
Indeed.
So, Carl.
You're going to see what they do.
Mercedes Moné, as a lot of people noted, because they didn't shy away from showing you, was in the audience at All In. And it begs the question.
That you showed it, though. Didn't show it in the women's match once.
Well, yeah. Well, it begs the question, because obviously she's not cleared to wrestle at the moment, is she?
No.
So, firstly, I want to ask you, do you think she was, because they have got a working relationship with New Japan, do you think she was going to be involved in this in some way?
1,000,000%.
And they've
if
not been able to, but they definitely want to show you her face.
If she wasn't injured, I think she would have been there a lot sooner. I think Tony's made the call of, well, let's get her in the audience and get people talking and more speculation.
Yeah.
Before she eventually does end up going over there for a bit.
So what do you think? Do you think she's going to do some AEW then?
Yes.
Do you think it's going to be WrestleDream?
Maybe. I wouldn't be surprised to see her kind of maybe not be all elite. It might be. But you've now got the belt on Saraya. Spoilers, anyone who's not seen it. Who they've obviously got the history of Sasha. Well, Mercedes was the one that kind of ended her career. So there's a story there.
There's a story there. I'm coming back to end it again. It's a different story.
So, I think it's definitely got people talking. People definitely want to see her in AEW, and I think it'd be a good shot in the arm for the women's division as well.
Yeah,
it's already.
No, I mean, like, as much as people seem to turn on her a little bit when she went to New Japan, there's no denying that she's got star power. So it'd definitely be a boom for AEW.
Yes, indeed. So
there you go.
Watch this space.
Mercedes is all elite.
Maybe. So speaking of New Japan and people going to other promotions and whatnot, so Impact have got a couple of good announcements. So Will Ospreay is returning to Impact at Bound for Glory.
Nice.
Which is great news. Obviously, he's fastly becoming one of my favourite wrestlers.
Becoming? I thought you were like a full mark now.
Oh, I'm a full mark, but like, is he now my favourite wrestler? Maybe, I don't actually know. But as well as that, Jordynne Grace is returning. She's going to be coming back at Victory Road. So the pair of them got, some promo packages, hyping it up and stuff. And I think two fantastic talents to have coming back to your, to your roster.
People who've at their times have held up Impact. To be fair.
Well, yeah, to be fair. So, great news all around. And,
indeed.
Impact seems to be making pretty good go of it again. So it's nice to see.
They've low-key been doing well for a while. Just people like to just remember the Jeff Jarrett days.
Yes. So fair play. And excited for Will.
Indeed. Well, you know what? Speaking of like fantastic moves being made by Impact Wrestling, Carl, the Dudley Boyz are set to team together. I'm not quite sure how, and we'll discuss that shortly. But team together for the first time in 7 years, and they'll be doing that at Impact's whatever pay-per-view it's called. 1,000th episode. Yeah. So, because it's just called Impact now, so it's not TNA anymore. Yeah. Anyway, so they're going to be teaming together again at Impact 1000. Well, the reason I said begs the question how is, as you know from when we spoke to Devon. That's right.
Shameless plug.
Shameless. But he mentioned like he would love to work with Bubba again, and he may take a bump or two, but his in-ring career is kind of not there now. Do you think he's changed his mind? It's a hard business to leave, or do you think it is going to be a case of it's going to be mostly Bubba, who's in phenomenal shape considering, and with a bit of involvement from Devon there?
I think the fact that it's a tag match gives them the opportunity to do both, whatever they need to do. So like if he's feeling okay on the day, he can get involved quite a bit. Yeah. If not, it can be mostly, Bubba, and then he
that's the thing, you can control what you need to, especially if you plan it well enough, you can control what you need to do, can't you? So.
But I hope, obviously, he's a lovely guy. He's had a lot of different health issues. So I'm hoping that he's kind of, right as rain and getting back to it, and maybe he can actually get back on the ring again.
Yeah. Well, absolute pair of legends. Can't wait to see it.
Indeed. Now, this one was interesting. So, the stipulation for the NWA World Heavyweight Championship match at NWA.
Those are some big old sideburns. Are they mutton chops? They're mutton chops.
They are indeed. But it was if Tyrus doesn't win, then he has to retire. And it's like, we see this all the time, and then usually it never ends up in a retirement. However, spoilers, EC3 did defeat Tyrus, which means he's now being forced to retire. Now, NWA's been getting a lot of flack over the last kind of few months for having Tyrus as their champion.
I know, right?
So yeah, for whatever reason, people just aren't really big on Tyrus at all, it seems.
He seems to be quite a controversial figure. I've seen a lot of people
Yes.
defend him as well, similarly, but
Yeah, and obviously you can put the political angle on it as well. People have obviously got their allegiances and therefore will like or dislike someone based on their own political beliefs and whatnot. And, you know, his in-ring ability, people are saying that it's not what it once was. So there's a plethora of reasons. But EC3
nice use of the word plethora.
is the new NWA champion. And yeah, that could mean Tyrus is now gone. So
And EC3 still not smiling.
what's it going to take to make you smile, man? But yeah, it's an interesting move. I don't know whether it's legit. Tyrus is done. He's hanging them up. Whether it's
I mean, let's be
storyline,
honest,
maybe
it's not the
back.
first time someone's been retired or even forced to retire from
Well.
a match. You know, the possibilities are endless, but I think it's probably the last we'll see of Tyrus for a bit because he's got like other stuff going on, hasn't he?
He does. He's everywhere, isn't he? He's
Yeah,
like on
exactly.
TV all the time. For
That's it.
stuff,
So
yeah.
he's got other shit to do.
He has indeed.
Yeah.
So someone called his mama because he's coming home.
Yes. So Carl,
Speaking of people who are coming home,
nice bastard. Couldn't even let me have the segue, could you? It turns out, Carl, that WWE have confirmed 8 different dates that John Cena will be in attendance. 8. Now, I don't think they've confirmed the capacity in which he will be in attendance at the. No, it just says will appear at the different events. But we've got basically throughout September and October a 2-month span of good old John Cena.
laying the smackers down.
Indeed. What do you think we're getting? More Grayson Waller effects, some actual matches,
I mean,
some more pleas to WrestleMania.
the fact he's going to be there for 2 months, he's definitely going to. So he's having a match at the India show, isn't he?
Right.
So they're doing, obviously, I can't remember what it's called, Superstar Spectacle or something. So he's in some kind of 3-on-3 match or something for that. So he's going to be wrestling there. But you've got to think if he's back on a 2-month stint, he's going to be around for the upcoming pay-per-views.
Yeah.
So I can't think what's after Payback. Is it Fastlane?
Maybe.
So you'd have to imagine he's going to be involved in that in some capacity. But it looks like they end before Survivor Series, which is in November. So
Right.
I imagine they'll build up to something, but I don't know who's going to obviously get
Halloween
the chance to
Havoc.
win. Yeah,
Mm.
I can see him showing up on NXT. To be fair, why not? Yeah, it's so cool. You don't realize how much you miss John Cena until you see him, and you're like,
I mean,
he's good.
I always think that's the same for most. I think when wrestlers are getting the kind of like, for lack of using like mark terms, the go away heat and stuff. I think sometimes absence does make the
Maybe
hardcore
we'll
fun
finally get that heel turn.
Oh,
It's not about the merch sales and stuff anymore. He can still go and grant all the wishes that he does, because obviously he's a wonderful man. He's like a record breaker in that sense. Why not?
Well, they saw he did well as Peacemaker, didn't he? And that wasn't very PG, so maybe they're like, he can be edgy, it's fine.
Exactly. So, but I'm made up his back, to be fair. I'm excited to see what he does.
That'll be good to see.
I don't know where he fits on the card in SmackDown at the minute.
Wherever the fuck he wants.
Yeah, you're not wrong.
Unless, how pissed off are you going to be if he comes back just to end Roman Reigns' streak?
Oh, God, yeah. Surely.
It's 2 months.
Again.
2 months of Super Cena.
Gets his records.
Ooh, a new belt.
Yeah, it spins now. So yeah, I'm excited. It's gonna be good.
Indeed.
But yeah, that was the news. Obviously, a lot of very emotional episode this week.
Indeed.
So yeah, just once again, obviously, wish all the best to the families of Terry Funk and Bray Wyatt. And yeah, some very interesting stuff happening in the world of wrestling. It's definitely not a slow week for news, to say the least. But
Indeed.
yeah, if you've enjoyed this, make sure you, if you're listening, go and leave us a review and all that good stuff. 5-star one, preferably. Thank you very much.
Are there any other stars?
Exactly.
No.
If you're watching on YouTube, then do hit the like, hit subscribe.
If you're watching on YouTube, we are incredibly white.
But I mean, yeah, we've had some milestones as well, haven't we? We've got over 5k subs on YouTube now. So
Yeah,
thank you.
nice.
Everyone of you. And we think we hit 2 million views, which is a hell of a milestone. So
Yeah, I mean, unless you're like Logan Paul or something, but for us, it's a hell of a milestone.
But for two, very white guys.
Logan Paul gets 2 million views before Breakfast Man.
Breakfast Man, the world's greatest superhero. But yeah, so do all that good stuff. We do appreciate it, and yeah, thanks for continuing to stick around, and support us. So we
Indeed.
will catch you on the next one.